So ABC had this big report the other day that I wanted to share with you here. Just how far gone is Trump mentally? Well, he, according to this report, and there's some audio evidence to this effect, seemingly believed, no, I'm actually going to be reinstated as president in the middle of Joe Biden's term before 2024. So he actually fell for the Mike Lindell line. This is astonishing. Watch this.
When you had a release recently, you said 2024 or before. What do you mean by that? You don't really think there's a way you would get reinstated before the next election, do you?
I'm not going to explain it to you, Jonathan, because you wouldn't either understand it or write it.
As I later learned, Trump was talking about the idea a lot in private, worrying some of his advisors that he was actually starting to believe it. Even former Trump campaign lawyer Jenna Ellis, who recently pled guilty in Georgia for her part in trying to overturn the election, felt the need to refute Trump's reinstatement fantasy, tweeting, "The Constitution has only one process for removal of a sitting president, impeachment and conviction. No, President Trump stated." And then there was Mo Brooks of Alabama.
I am proud to be an American.
The six-term congressman was the first lawmaker to announce plans to challenge the congressional certification of Joe Biden's victory.
In my judgment, if only lawful votes cast by eligible American citizens are counted, President Trump handily won the Electoral College and second term as president.
Mo Brooks even donned body armor during his speech at Trump's rally immediately preceding the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
Are you willing to do what it takes to fight for America? Louder! Will you fight for America?
His steadfast support of those election lies helped Brooks win Trump's coveted endorsement in Alabama's 2022 Senate race.
So Mo is a fearless warrior for your sacred right to vote.
But by the summer of 2021, even Mo Brooks said it was time to move on, a message that didn't resonate with the Trump faithful.
There are some people who are despondent about the voter fraud and election theft in 2020. Folks, put that behind you. Put that behind you.
The Trump diehard was booed by the hometown crowd.
Look forward. Beat them in 2022.
They didn't want to look forward. They wanted 2020 rectified now. Brooks later told me that months after that rally in March of 2022, Trump called him with an extraordinary series of demands. Among them,
he asked me to publicly state that Donald Trump should be allowed to move back into the White House, reinstated as president.
Brooks says he refused, telling the former president his demand was blatantly unconstitutional, and that then Trump retaliated, pulling his endorsement. Brooks went on to lose the Republican primary.
Holy cow, man. Holy cow. So I didn't know all those details about Mo Brooks, how Mo Brooks was, basically a crusader for Trump, arguing that Trump won in 2020 and he's the rightful president. And he was in favor of every single legal attempt to try to keep Trump in office, using the court system, for example. I don't know how much he was on board with the whole fake electors, fraudulent electors scheme, but nonetheless, he was of the opinion, as you clearly heard him say, that Trump actually won in 2020. But even Mo Brooks, after, everything was over and Biden was in office, even he realized, okay, we're done here. Because there's no legal avenue by which you can reinstate somebody who literally did lose, even though Mo Brooks thinks he won. There's no legal pathway to do that. It's only impeachment and conviction where you could get rid of a sitting president. Mo Brooks knows that because for all of his flaws, he views himself as one of these constitutional conservatives, one of the go by the letter of the law. Whatever's in the Constitution is what it is. And so Trump called him and asked him to do the reinstatement, to come out and endorse the reinstatement theory. And he goes, I can't do that. And then Trump pulled his endorsement. And remember, because I remember covering this at the time, the right turned on him like that. They immediately, I think they started calling him a woke Mo Brooks, which is literally the most hilarious thing I've ever heard in my life. And Mo Brooks realized, oh my God, I got into bed with a psychopath. But then look, that gets to the more important question, a more interesting question in my opinion, which is, did Trump really believe this stuff? Did he really believe it? I think I have an answer for you. So remember, there's a tremendous amount of evidence that we get from Jack Smith and from Fani Willis and from the people who were around Trump, all of his sycophants that were around him at the time when they were coming up with the fake electors and fraudulent elector theory. They felt like they told him a number of times. Most of the people around him told him, you lost, and we're losing our court cases, and what you're trying to do now is kind of illegal. this is really out there. And he was told time and time again from confidants that you are wrong. You lost. And there were indications based on Trump's own words that he actually knew, okay, I lost. Like, for example, he said at one point when talking about Iran, like, let's not deal with that now. Let's go ahead and leave it for the next guy. Talking about when Biden gets in there and he can handle it. He said to Mike Pence, when he was trying to get Mike Pence to try to overturn the election by rejecting it in the ceremonial hearing, he was like, oh, Mike, you're too honest. In other words, you don't want to do the thing I want you to do. I know I'm being dishonest. You're too honest. So he kind of knew he lost. But then what happens? See, this is how Trump functions, and this is how a giant ego narcissist functions. He will keep fishing until he finds the answer that he wants. And then when he gets that answer, he will choose to ignore all of the evidence to the contrary and say, no, this is the correct theory because this is the kindest theory to me that helps me protect my own ego the most. The last thing Trump ever wants to do is view himself as a loser. It is the absolute last thing he would ever want. And he lost. He couldn't cope with it. He couldn't deal with it. So he kept searching until he found the Mike Lindells of the world and the Sidney Powells of the world who were like, sir, you won, and I'm going to keep you in power. And then, of course, that all fell apart, and he knew that. But then it became, oh, my God, they have this Hail Mary theory about how they're going to reinstate me before 2024, which is absolute psycho. And he was just like, I'm all in on that. Why? Because that's the thing that makes me feel better. And so to answer the question, yes, there was a time he knew he lost. And there's evidence to suggest from his own words that he understood he lost. But then he fishes for the theory that makes him feel the best. It's almost like, it's like the ultimate postmodernist view where it's like, there is not the truth. There is my truth. And I, Donald Trump, am going to choose my truth that I really won. It's a travesty I'm not in there. And I should be reinstated. Remember, he even went as far as to say, this was the context of the argument when he said on Truth Social, we need to suspend the Constitution. Because there was this terrible wrong that was done to me. It was fraudulent, and they rigged it. And so in a situation like that, all rules and laws are out the window, and we suspend the Constitution to bring about the right outcome, namely me back in office. And so he knew he lost, but then he chose a theory that was most kind to him and either convinced himself of it or didn't, but only cares about the outcome. To him, it's the ends justify the means. If I'm back in power, that's all that matters. I don't care how I get there. Get me back there. So, but all this stuff about Mo Brooks is fascinating. Like, think about the amount of pressure that was put on Mike Pence when he was trying to get Mike Pence to throw out the results of the election. I mean, this is a guy, but Mike Pence had done everything for Donald Trump but wipe his ass, and maybe he also did that too when nobody was looking. He'd done everything for the guy. He never said no. And then this is the one time he was like, I'm not gonna destroy the peaceful transfer of power in the country to soothe your ego. I'm just not gonna do it. And that's when Trump turned on Pence. And Trump even tried, people don't know this, Trump even tried, one of his tactics to try to get Pence to throw out the results of the election is the day before Trump tweeted that Mike's agreed to do the right thing, and he's gonna do the right thing. So he tried to like use that trick where it's like, I told people, you told me you were going to do it. So now it's like, now I'm trying to coerce you into doing it. And so he did that to Pence. And of course he's going to do this to Mo Brooks too. When Mo Brooks would have made himself the laughing stock of the entire country if he comes out and endorses this bogus reinstatement theory that makes no sense. But thankfully he found a shred of dignity in the same way Mike Pence did to say, look, you're asking me to do something that's beyond ridiculous. I can't. This ruins my own legacy. So, wow. And this is the guy who, by the way, we're going to end on this sad, terrifying note. He is the favorite for 2024. He is the favorite. We're going to have more on this in a little bit. But you have Joe Biden is plummeting among Muslim Americans, Arab Americans, Latino Americans, and young people. His numbers are falling off of a cliff. And like Trump is the default favorite. It's interesting because the Republicans keep getting their ass kicked. But in a head-to-head between Trump and Biden, as of right now, Biden is actually weaker than Trump. And this is the kind of guy that we're dealing with. Whew, this country has never been in a worse place, and I don't say that lightly. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.